Thank you very much indeed, Liz. As Liz has said, I've been in business for 30 years. I started clearly when I was 5, and I've built up several businesses across technical sectors and consulting sectors ever since. This particular business came to me after something that made an impact on what I was doing. We'd had ideas previous years about how society fits together. Like you do, you explore them as subjects. But then I started to do something a bit different, and it all started here. I'm a biker, okay? I have a confession, I'm a biker. And I got involved with a guy from BAFTA who said, Phil, can you do a charity ride, please? We're doing one from Ace Cafe up to Squires. He said, can you do one at the top end and help raise some money for a little charity specialising in neuroblastoma, which is a childhood cancer disease 0 to 5 years old, affecting those in that age category, and not much else after that. And I said I would, and eventually we created 3 little ride-outs at the top end, and loads of bikers came together. We chipped our money in and raised some money for this little charity, who then became effusively thankful for what we did, more so than I expected. And I started talking to the little charity, and they were stuck in that cycle. We're poor, therefore we're a charity, therefore we're poor. And it sort of begs the question, how many other charities are like that? And the answer is many, many small charities are in that space. It's a difficult thing for them to do, getting resource, connecting with businesses and philanthropists that might give them more than just a fiver on the street corner. And how do you create that sustainable relationship? We've heard about it several times this morning already. How do you create that relationship that enables the charity, or indeed the community group, to effectively deliver a service that helps others who need help? And so this motorbike ride was one of the pivotal factors that started me thinking about how this could work and what could I do to make a difference. So I started learning about charities. I went out there and talked to several small ones and several larger ones. I learnt several things, that the small charities were stuck in this, I'll call it a poverty cycle. We're poor, we're a charity, we're poor cycle. They didn't know how to get out of it. The sustainable leg-up relationships that would help them to develop a service, broaden the scope, help more people in the sector they're operating was more difficult than they imagined and was out of reach. The large ones, however, had a different problem. The large charities, the large research charities, for example, they were losing or had lost already trust and relevance in a locality area. So the large charities, how often do you see a local explanation of a cancer research, for example? It's a big charity, it does some great work on a national or even international stage. But for a local level, relating to that relies on the fact you have a personal experience, usually not a good one. And so they will start losing context and losing relationships with people who felt they didn't understand the local impact of a very large charity. So there's a scattergun approach all round. So I thought, that's interesting. There's a problem here that needs to be solved and resolved. So I thought, okay, who gives to these charities? And I went to talk to businesses. I discovered lots of things about businesses. Most businesses, large and small, even those tail-ender ones that we talked about earlier, want to help somehow. They all do something at some point in the year, even if it's just a charitable donation once a year to one charity, or it might be a fundraiser event inside the business. It could be anything like that. They call it CSR, HSR, whatever the C stands for, whatever the H stands for. They'll call it philanthropy. They call it all sorts of things. Some people don't even realise that it's part of this scheme, but they still do stuff that helps other people. And many companies identify a single annual charity, which is laudable in its attempts, but it actually ignores the fact there are 100 charities out there just around the corner on the doorstep that also need help. They picked the branded one, the ones that could get their brand in front of you, and therefore attracted the funding, the volunteering and the gifting. The choice was limited. I've spoken to many large companies that said, you know what, we offer 3 days a year volunteering time for our staff to go out. I say, how's that going? Really badly, actually. They don't know where to go, especially in London. And I said, what's the problem in London? They said all the volunteering opportunities are usually around volunteering in food courts or in soup kitchens. And did you know there's just under a year's waiting list if you want to go and do that in central London? And I thought, that's bizarre. There are so many other fantastic opportunities to help really relevant local groups who are helping others. So choice was limited. Measurement systems was also an issue for large companies and small ones as well. There's a wonderful suite called Excel. That's what most people tend to use, Excel. So you've got an Excel spreadsheet for donations, for fundraising, for volunteering and for gifting. Maybe 4 different people in 4 different parts of the organisation bringing these things together to try and answer the question, what do we do holistically as a business for CSR? So spreadsheets are the norm. Some companies have some more intricate systems, maybe inside their intranet, for example, but nobody really had a common system. Very few had a common system. Even the very, very big companies you would expect to have some quite sophisticated systems just didn't. And so the measurement was an issue. That was collecting the data. We talked at the very start of today about this word lie. And I happen to think that lie is a very strong word and very polarizing in what it means. I don't think people lie about their CSR. I do think they interpret it. And I think they interpret it to say, yes, we painted the fence or we built the wall that enabled us to do not just that, but we'll make it this big, shall we? We did all this. We were responsible for the building of an entire complex because we painted this fence. So people will extrapolate and exaggerate because they can, and they like to feel they've done something more meaningful, as opposed to having the real verified data that only the charity or the recipient good cause can truly verify. If you did verify it, you'd have this thing called verifiable data. Richard at CSRA talked about the importance and the real critical factor of having this data validated and verified in order to count it towards a formal standard. So unstructured data was an issue for many companies. But most companies I talked to had a heart, and most company directors said, you know what, we want to do this. We understand the importance that a good CSR strategy and actually doing the doing will attract people who also feel the same way as we do. That's our future employees, that's keeping our existing good staff members, and obviously helping them to introduce that idea to our customers who will also buy from us based on the espoused values of the company. So CSR is moving not from the fringe now, but towards the central pillar of your business. Demonstrate your values, and guess what? Despite all the technology in the world, people buy from people. We have this term called human social responsibility. It's about the individual and the impact we will make. And so I got some software together, and we cobbled together a beta platform about 3 years ago. And that platform allowed you to have individuals who care, coupled with businesses who want to help, meeting charities and community groups who need that help. And that was put together in a beta platform. And then we later decided to expand its profile and expand its robustness, and we partnered to create a much more robust platform I'll tell you about in a moment. So we started a journey. And interestingly enough, very recently, somebody said, you know what, Phil, this is your ikigai. It's a Japanese word, it's not rude. I said, what's an ikigai? And the ikigai is everything you've ever done in your life. So I'm ex-IBM technical. I have a number of business experiences behind me. I understand finance. I understand the Financial Conduct Authority rules and regulations and governance. And now I was learning about charities. Everything I did in my life came to this point where I could effectively create something that was worthwhile. And that was my ikigai, the accumulation of all of my strategic experiences over the 30 years I had in business. So this is why I bring to you today something called Investors in Community. It wasn't built on lots of customers saying, here's an order. It was built on an aspiration, a dream if you like, but a well-qualified one that I think people matter. And I think if everybody understands that and agrees with me, therefore this dream had to become real. Anybody seen the Field of Dreams film? Yeah? It's a film all about this guy who builds a baseball pitch, believing the players will come. And he built it, and he waited, and eventually they came. It's a great film, watch it if you can. It's all about trusting human nature at the end of the day. So we built the platform. Key drivers for me, several things. It's got to be free for recipient good causes, charities and community groups, because they often get overlooked in these things. Registered charities only need apply. With our platform, community groups of any size or ambition, as long as they're constituted, can access our platform, and it's got to be free. And I say that because everywhere else you go, it's not free. I was appalled to find out the charging rates of some of the other funding relating platforms. You know who they are. They charge the charities monthly, they deduct money from gift aid, they charge the credit card fees at well-inflated prices above what they're physically charged, and out of it, they take an element of money away from the charitable sector into their private sector business, which was so successful in one case, they sold it for £95 million in 2017. 95 million, that's an awful lot of money for something that actually was got off the back of the interaction with charities. So I said, no, the guiding principle, it has to be free. No card charges,
no monthly charges, no deductions from any donations, free.
Philip, can I just ask, in terms of those charges, specifically you talk about the Just Giving ones and things like
Yes,
that?
I am, yes.
And what scale, what size are they?
The scale varies between Just Giving and Virgin Money, but you're talking, £300 or £400 a year, possibly a little bit more if you're a larger charity, just to be on the platform. Then there's a deduction from gift aid. Then there is a strong arm up the back to give an extra 5% to help them run their business. And after all that's taken care of, a credit card charge is applied.
So Virgin Money and Just Giving actually charge your donation?
Yes. Well, Virgin Money doesn't. It still has a credit card fee. Just Giving does. And it's different for all platforms. I will tell you that we are the only utterly free for charities platform in the market. It's got to be free for individuals because individuals make the world go round. You can't do anything in volunteering terms without individuals doing something, clearly. So volunteering and individuals, it must be free for them to use as well. It's got to have a live marketplace because it's all very well having brand names on a page, but actually you don't truly know what they do. So the opportunity to create live projects on the marketplace every day of every week, free, that you can ask for help with volunteering, gifting and donations and fundraising. And in terms of funding this model, we're requesting that businesses pay a very nominal fee per person employed, so we pick up right from the small businesses to the very large multinationals. It's a very fair subscription service to the platform, and it's that subscription that pays for everything to make it free. It's that perfect symbiotic relationship between the charity sector and the business sector that we've talked about today in previous speaker slots. So that was what it's all about. I talked about the beta platform giving way to a more robust platform.
Sorry,
Yes,
just in terms of the charges,
Yes.
that's per employee per month?
It's £1 per employee per month, and it caps off at 2,000 staff members. So it's very affordable to large corporates, but it's equally accessible to very small businesses too. We recoded our platform for security reasons because the Ministry of Defence type operators, people like the police, the 999s, operate at a very high level. So our existing beta platform was not sufficient to take us forwards. So we recoded in partnership with Cognition Foundry. We have built ourselves the most incredible enterprise-wide system. You could look at it and say, actually, it's well overcooked, Phil, for the UK market, and indeed it is. It is absolutely an enterprise-wide system. Because we're not just planning to be in the UK, we are going to extend across the waters in both directions in due course in the next year. So we have a global presence ambition. We are the first, I'll call this new age platforms, because we amalgamate the 5 ways of giving. Forget those 4 different spreadsheets. Everything is done in one place. So all the volunteering, the gifting, the fundraising, the donations, and the pro bono volunteering, those 5 ways of giving are all measured in the same place on the same platform. And when I say measured, it is verified data that goes to our platform that makes it valuable for the storytelling, for the accreditations that follow for businesses. And this is a platform seriously for everybody. We have a number of, this is a very few number of brands I managed to go into one slide. There are many, many more. We've already heard from Alison from Scape Group. Balfour BT have joined us. We have Specsavers, okay, a few branches. We have Chambers of Commerce, there's more than one, there's actually 4 now, nearly 5. Little building societies, large companies and small companies. This is just a brief example of some of the supporters who have come alongside us in the early days, which we thank them for. So we're talking about HSR, the human social responsibility. Now I don't mind what 3-letter acronym you apply to what we're doing today, whether it's HSR, CSR, robust business, whatever it is you decide to call it, it doesn't matter, it's the same thing. It's about connecting with the community. People will drive your business in the future, attracting the right ones, retaining the correct ones, expanding their horizons, reaching out into the community, ensuring your business is sustainable, not just from a financial perspective, but from an operating perspective and a values perspective. Supply chains are now, as has been explained several times this morning, starting to demand evidence. So, for example, Scape will look for evidence that you are actually enacting your CSR principles, not just simply talking about them. And Scape are not alone. There are many, many supply chains that we're talking to that are asking now, if you want to do business with us, show us you're the right stuff. Show us you're just more than your profit and distribution line. Show us you're not going to cut corners. Show us you have a heart. Because that's the people we want to do business with, not the low-cost models and the race to the bottom. Customers and consumers, there are statistics out there, independent statistics, that says about 82% of millennials will make a purchasing decision based on the perceived values of the business they're buying from. The word is perceived. All they can understand is what you tell them. So when you create these stories, you tell them, you market yourselves. You tell your consumers and the public and your customers what you're doing, because they'll be judging you on that very output. And this is all about verifiable CSR data. And at the end of the day, we've created a platform that is for everybody. It's for charities, it's for community groups, it's for businesses large and small, it's for sole traders, and it's for every individual on the street who simply wishes to become part of us just to do a fundraise for a charity that they enjoy supporting. So this is a rounded platform for everybody. It has a very clear business focus in terms of it produces the business reports that you are looking for to move your company forwards and expose your values as CSR supporters. So our future vision, it's all about how we grow this opportunity to impact more and more people. We talked about how we'd like to become international, and we will hopefully have international presence in the next 12 to 24 months. We have an app which we are about to instruct the coding of, which will take us into the one-to-manys. We're talking to a major university at the moment who have agreed that they will join the platform as a university with their staff members, and they will also market this to their 27,000 students. So 27,000 people out there suddenly will be interested in supporting charities in the area in which they operate. We have another couple of universities like that, so you'll find, hopefully before Christmas, 100,000 plus students on the platform through the app that we're creating, because that's the only way you reach those younger people these days. They don't use browsers, they think they're very quaint and old-fashioned, and they're barely accessed anymore. So apps are the future. The browser's dead, and so our app will be in the market in the next 3 to 4 months' time, and that will give you the ability to access that en masse to not just a large company's workforce, but also to individuals on the street as well. Now, the act of giving, our platform addressed another issue. It's quite an important one, this. We talked about how do you measure CSR. Now, Richard and CSRA have got very clear ideas on the accreditation criteria, but along that route, how do you measure it? How do you compare it? How do you actually espouse what you've done? So for every act of giving, whether that be donations, gifting, or volunteering, pro bono, etc., you will be earning as individuals and as a business, if it's a business doing this, something we have created called community credits. Now, a community credit is an algorithmic link that unifies all those 5 ways of giving into a number. And that number appears on your personal profile dashboard, and it also appears on the business one too. So if you volunteer during works hours, the system will ask you, you click yes, it's in works hours, and your volunteering credits are split between you and the company. In this way, everybody has a dashboard, a measurement, a sense of direction, trend, measurement if you wish, to enable you to see, well, how far have I come? What have I done this year? Can any of you remember what you did 3 years ago, 3 years, 2017? What charity work did you do in 2017? You remember? Anybody remember? I can't remember what I had for breakfast last week, so there's no chance of remembering 3 years ago. So the idea is this will create an audit link for all the work you've ever done, and over time will give you a personal trail, a personal audit list of what you've done as an individual and as a business. So community credits are set to become the de facto standard of measurement, I hope, the world over. Nobody's done it yet. Nobody's actually taken that step to unify credits. What are credits used for? Can we spend them? No, you can't spend them. There's no transaction at the moment that allows you to swap them for air miles or anything like that. This is actually simply a measurement. Some of our customers have said, tell you what, Phil, we can look at our staff's attached to our profile and we can see who's done more community credits in the month, and we can give them a Meal for Two award or a, whatever, a reward based on the community credits that they've earned in a certain time period. So reward systems are using the basis of community credits to trigger the rewards for people who engage. We talked to a law firm last year. They said, you know what, out of all our intake of new people, our placement people, we know who we're going to retain at the end of it because they're the people that engage with our charity work. They're the people that have got that little bit extra, that bit of interest, that stuff that makes the glue stick. And almost invariably, it is those people that are finally assessed. And they did a retrospective evaluation. They said, that's a really weird thing. All those people we've taken on were the people that came top of the league table, if you like, in the amount of charity work they were doing. So these things have correlative relationships between people, productivity, performance, and profit. Just made the 4 Ps, haven't I? That's good. I like that. So this is all about community credits, and we've engaged with the community credits metrics in every aspect of our site. We intend to be multilingual and multi-currency within 1 to 2 years, and we aim to provide a single platform for all community organisations. If you ask me what my personal plan is, there's 5.7 million businesses in the UK, there's 167,000 charities and about 500,000 community groups. I want them all. I want them all. Every single person, every company, every charity on this platform working together in a new age society that we call the right thing. That's what I want. We're also starting conversations to act as processors for other platforms. So we will look at systems integration with other providers out there to get the scalability much higher over the next 6 months. And it's quite interesting that people are looking at us now, established charitable-based organisations, saying we need to process this 500,000 transactions a month. Our platform is rubbish. It's old legacy stuff with chewing gum and sticky plaster. And we recognise the fact you have a very robust platform. Can you do it for us? And we were delighted. Of course we can do it for them. We have the technology and we have the ability to do just that. So we'll be acting as processors in the near future for other associated companies and organisations. It hasn't been said yet, and nobody asked this morning in the very first speech of the day, how soon will it be before maybe government, maybe accounting standards boards, to say, can you report on it please in your annual report? Nobody's asked that question. The answer is the government has no firm plans at this time, which is like saying the minister has my full support just before they leave the government. So we don't know quite what the government's position is, but the mandatory reporting of companies of a certain size to report their CSR in a way which can be understood by the shareholders and stakeholders, I don't think that's very far away. It's a personal opinion. You can form your own. And at the end of the day, I set out on this journey. It's been a long journey so far. It's only 4 years. It's been a long journey. It's taken an awful lot of personal effort from myself and a most excellent team that work for Investors in Community. We're totally dedicated to the principles I've just laid out for you this afternoon. And so we want to do the last thing on that list, which is we want to create an international legacy using the Investors in Community movement, which only exists because you support us, charities and businesses, coming together as a single entity. Too many of these large impact organisations come out of Silicon Valley in the US. I'm fairly clear this one's based in Chesterfield. It's the thing with the crooked spire. It's a little place, but it's British and it belongs in the UK. And with your help, we can make this a very successful platform, a movement for doing good in this world. And I invite you to join us, businesses and charities alike, and spread the word, please, because it's only by the coming together of lots and lots of us that we're going to make this truly happen. So that's my story of Investors in Community. The story continues. I'm still riding the motorbike. I intend to be a blood bank donor in the next 12 months, and that's my volunteering, which is what I intend to do during the course of the next 12 months. All of my team volunteer. We all walk the walk. We don't just talk the talk, and we all use our platform for measuring and comparing between ourselves. So the story continues, but it only continues with your support and your help. And in advance, thank you very much for the time today.
Thoughts, comments, questions? They're all stunned.
Tell us what you do with the data that you collect through the platform.
The data?
Yeah.
Well, the data at the moment is the measurement and the reporting which comes out. So
The data on transactions and what people do, the intelligence that you gather.
well, at the moment, the platform is simply transactional, John. So at the moment, we look after the data. At some point, we'll be using it to create advanced reporting so we can show trend analysis, usage analysis by whatever sector or type of giving that there is to be had.
So you're not selling it on to all those people who are phoning us up?
No. That would be a breach of values.
Well, yes, not only that, but GDPR possibly.
Yes.
Here in the middle, and then.
Hi, do you differentiate between kind of what charities people support with community credits? So, for example, thinking if a company has a nominated charity, would it be possible for them to kind of get double credits, so doing volunteering for that charity and then all?
It's an interesting question. Community credits is a measurement, and that measurement has to be verified. It's going to be used for reward systems potentially, CSR accreditations potentially. So control of how those credits are given is within the algorithm of the business or the platform. So because you nominate a charity, I'm going to return the question, why should you get more credits for volunteering to them than anybody else? Because it's all an equal playing field, I think. But have I explained your question, or is that?
Yeah.
Yes?
I just wondered if there was a way to see kind of if what employee who's doing volunteering, is there a way to see who they volunteered with? Or
Yes. Yes. As an administrator to your business profile, you have the ability to look at all your staff members associated with that profile, and you can see what they've done in work's time. What you can't see is all the work they do when they go home. Because I tell you what, your staff members, I've met business people, they said, oh, our staff don't do this sort of stuff. Oh no, they're really hard working, and they come to work and they go home again. Oh, I've got news for you, they don't go home again. They go home and they look at other ways to help. They go out at weekends, they help the homeless, they help the lonely, they help the children-related charities. Yes, they do the cats' homes, everybody does a cat home, don't they? But they do all sorts of stuff, outside of the workplace. And you will be amazed at what actually happens outside of the workplace. And all you are doing as a business is opening that door and saying, do you know what? We like you to do this stuff, and you can do it inside the workplace as well. And that's a really powerful message.
I have two questions. I have a lot of knowledge and background in corporate responsibility platforms for several of them.
Yes.
In terms of the credits that you were just describing, are those basically e-currency within the platform?
They're not e-currency. At the moment, we have no plans to allow them to be redeemed. So therefore, it is simply a passive counting mechanism, and you can use that how you wish. Some of our customers have said, I tell you what, we've got 25 or 250 locations, we're going to gamify. We're going to say each location, every month, we're going to be able to see how much each location has done, because we can break down our staff into locations on the platform, and therefore we'll almost say, okay, who's been the best this particular month? So some customers take that approach. Some people say, no, that's not right. We'll just use it for a rewards-based system. Some companies just simply like to have the community credits as a public recognition figure, if you will, of what they've done. And individuals have also got, you've only got your own dashboard as well, so you've got your community credits, your personal ones. And if you leave the business, you take your account with you, by the way, it's free, and go and find the next business, which hopefully is also a member of Investors in Community, and you simply hook on and join them and carry on as usual. So it's a very portable, personal profile as well. We can create leaderboards. Now, leaderboards in the true sense are due out in about 2 weeks on the platform. It will allow you to create personal groups. So you and your friends, your business and your supply chain, any other correlation of grouping that you wish to have, you can group people together into a common list where the list is visible and you can see who ranks in that list as in terms of what giving is being done, or simply by community credits.
In terms of reporting, that's my second question. In terms of reporting, there is no legislation in the UK, but there are others globally. So there's the EU directive and there is the standard framework, so GRI, PG, CDP, and all of those. In line with the social impact, there is an ISO coming up, which doesn't have a reporting strategy as such. But what sort of data do you give back to the business for them to incorporate into the non-financial reporting?
Okay, so this is an important thing here, is when you verify data, as a small charity, think of a small charity, 3 or 4 people in it, okay? They don't necessarily have the sophistication to start breaking down every single aspect of what they do in terms of what percentage of BAME people did you affect, what was disability, and all that complexity. They say, well, yeah, I just won't bother. So that's not good enough. So we have created a very simple impact statement, simply telling what the impact was and the usual metrics associated with it. That data goes back to every single donor to that charity project. That's the first point. The business reporting relies on the fact, how do you want it? By group, by individual. You can group people of your own accord into groups and subgroups, so you can do all sorts of moving around on the platform of grouping of people. And those reports are available to give you the amount of hours, the number of donations, the amount of gifting, the amount of fundraising, and the community credits associated with that. And you can have reports sliced and diced how you wish to have them. Now that will support the more complex, what I call higher level reporting, if you like. But don't forget, all this is reported in one place. You don't have to scratch around with all your spreadsheets. That's done one place reporting, and you can use that to port into the social value portals and the other international portals you're talking about. So it's a starting point. We don't intend for our platform to become that complex that it feeds directly into one of those reporting profiles.
Is there room to apply the framework, so LGD or theory of change
You can put the frameworks into the way you structure your business set up in the platform, if that's the way you wish to do it, yes.
Richard, I'm done.
So, as the platform grows, obviously you're collecting data, and you know, the big word is community to being concept and together. So presumably, as you collect that data, you get geographic data.
Yes.
Does that mean that you will ultimately be able to use the platform to either, as an introductory service, so the company within a certain geographic area is looking to do good, you can help them point in the direction of charities and community projects and vice versa?
Very much so. I thought you were going to ask a different question then, because what you have just described, identifying the needs of charities in certain geographic areas of a city or a location or a region, we're now talking to the smart city people. And the smart city people bring in the economic data associated with that particular area. I don't know London well enough to point to a single area, but there's parts of every town and city that are less well off. And if you start to find needs being generated, identified by the volunteering going in there, then that could feed into a smart city model, but equally the other way around. Smart city identifies areas of poverty. Why don't we then use that, as you've intimated, to set up charity projects, point a business focus to that area, and see if we can make a difference collectively. So that data can be used to position and switch and draw attention to those areas and those groups of people that really do need help. Excuse me. Yes, sir.
Well, Thomas, Lincoln Maths. Two questions. First of all, do you have any data that's like conversion rates to the success between charity asks, the number of charities on your platform, and company gives?
Short answer, no, not at this stage. We're a relatively new platform. It's still building right now. So yes, the relationship between the charities and the business is still emerging. So if you're a charity on our platform, we say we'll support you as much as possible with our extending social media and help you to become known. But ultimately, it's about people giving on the platform. It's the field of dreams, build it and they will come, and they're still coming. So in about 6 months' time, a year's time, I'll be able to give you some very clear data on conversion rates. But don't forget, if you're launching projects, think about what you're asking. Think about chunking it down to manageable parts. Think about using it almost as an advert for what you want and what you want to do. And then give us a nudge and we'll expand that on our social media for you and try and help you target.
Yeah, I mean, the second question was, you give it support to small charities for resources, but
Yeah.
did you ask?
Yes, we've got some.
How do we access that?
So we've got how-to guides on the platform itself to give you some ideas about how you can structure a project to become more appealing. We see charity projects on our platform as they come on, and the team, wherever possible, will amplify those projects in the marketplace. So we give as much support as we're able to at the moment in time. That support will increase as more people get involved.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
ask a quick question? How
Yes.
much due diligence do you do on the charities? I know there are some charities in London, very reputable charities, and
Yes.
that's fine, but actually there are, in my experience, because I sit on the fundraising regulator standards board, and we do know that there are charities out there that aren't terribly well run, money is wasted, etc. And I just wondered if, you know,
Okay.
take that into consideration.
We do. So there's two aspects to this. One is a CIO registered charity. The other part of this is a constituted community group. And the question applies to both, of course. How do we know they're real? How do we know they're going to direct the money in the way which they say they're going to do? And I'm sure you'll agree with 167,000 charities alone and 500,000 community groups, it's virtually impossible to audit every single person for every single reason. So we do at this point in time run AML, anti-money laundering checks on every charity and every community group, where performance of ID, photographic ID, bank statements and utility bills are required before any money can leave our platform. It doesn't happen otherwise. So there's a basic AML check. That's the first point. We also then rely on general knowledge in the website, so we might look at a charity or a community group to check. We rely on people telling us if thing is wrong, and in the future, when we are resourced so much more effectively, then we'll be looking at doing a KYC, know your client. So we'll be looking at more in-depth due diligence on each charity that we have on the platform. We sort of assume at this point in time, CIO registration is an indicator that the business has been set up, charity has been set up correctly and is operating with filed accounts. And I know there's many of you in the audience that might say, the Charities Commission is a bit of a toothless tiger, but we can only go on that to start with. That will be more robust as the platform develops.
And some lack governance.
Hi, the growth that you're talking about, you were aiming for this to be used by every charity, every group.
Great question. The answer is both. Because in talking to a business, we say, okay, which charities do you support? Then we'll get the list of charities, we'll go and talk to those charities. If straight away, it's a free service here, get yourself on the platform, because by the way, the business that gives to you wants to meet you on the platform and it costs you nothing. So it's an easy conversation there. As a charity, if you said, I tell you what, I've got half a dozen companies that support me on a regular basis, and you bring those companies along to us, and the companies subscribe, we offer a little thank you commission back to the charity as a donation, say thank you for introducing these particular customers of the platform. So we have this two-way relationship that exists. The whole business structure is what I call a three-legged stool. And if you imagine we have businesses on one leg, we have charities and community groups on the other, and individuals who do something on the other. And it can't grow in isolation, because clearly a two-legged stool doesn't work so good. So we've got to build the three together. It's about trust, it's about working together, and it's about trying to bring those three legs up at the same time. So,
Before
thank you.
we leave the stage, call to action.
Absolutely. Call to action is come and join us, please. Don't mind who you are. If you're an individual with no particular affiliation to anybody, join us. It's free. If you're a charity, community group, join us. It's free. If you're a business, join us. There's a small subscription per number of people, but you get more than that back in automated reporting, the CSR being underlined, and your ability to report effectively through your marketing department to reach out to your stakeholders, your consumers, and make a point that your business is a values-led business and worth taking note of.
Just a final point from me. What about the 5.7 million freelance and self-employed people out there? How do we reach them? Because they're notoriously difficult to reach.
Reaching them, that's a difficult one. I'm open to suggestions. There is the Federation of Small Business, of course, we could reach through them. We're already working with Chambers of Commerce to talk to all of their members. So we're working through what they call intermediary organisations, which hopefully should reach as many people as possible. And then there's a really good way of doing it. It's a good old word of mouth. So please tell everybody. Did you have one question?
You're referring to independent consultants?
Yes, as well.
All of those, Dave and I've got an idea, though we'll come back to you next year and tell you how we're getting on. Great. Philip, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Liz.